Hello everyone, and welcome to my Resident Evil, welcome to Raccoon City review. Spoilers, massive spoilers ahead. Now you might be wondering, hold on a second, why do you have a video of somebody else up? And that somebody else is Mr. Bawkbasoups. Well, because I'm in the UK, so I didn't get the movie till yesterday, which was the 3rd of December. So I watched it yesterday night. And so obviously there's no point me watching any reviews or saying anything until the movie's actually out. But in the time span, which I think is about 9 days since this video was made, sorry I'm pointing the wrong way there, since Bork's video came out when he did a review of it, there was a time span about 9 days when Canada got it, US, blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. So I thought, instead of me doing kind of the run-of-the-mill review kind of reactions and talking about spoilers and stuff and what I thought of it, why not listen to somebody else's opinion and react to their opinion, add to it, digest it, dissect it, and things like that. So I thought it'd be quite a nice take. And the reason I've chosen Bork is because he was actually one of the first videos that came up for me on my feed, out of like IGN and all those other kind of news sites and any other kind of streamer or content creator around horror, Resident Evil, etc., etc., so forth. So I thought, well, you know what? And also, like, in the 9 days between this video plus the release date here in the UK, Bork has put out some tweets, comparing Welcome to Raccoon City to Arcane, which is the League of Legends series on Netflix. But we'll talk about that another time or later on, if we ever get to it, if it's ever mentioned in this, which I don't know if it is, because I've not actually watched this. This is my first time watching it, so this could be kind of like a reaction as we go. Also, just another side note, during that time as well, this was obviously made before all the weird, the abuse and the attacks on the actors or actress in particular who plays Jill Valentine in Welcome to Raccoon City, who played Jill Valentine. Hannah John Kamen was apparently getting tons of abuse and actually quit Twitter or quit social media because it was just too much. And to those people, it's stupid and disgusting. There's no need for it. Like, I watched the film, and obviously we're going to get into my thoughts of it, but there was nothing in it that I would sit there and go, oh, I need to be abusive and horrible to this person. Serious? Fucking idiots. Anyway, right, so without further ado, we'll get on with Bork's video. Listen to what he has to say, and every time he touches on some points or goes through a part of the film, I'm not sure how he's going to go through it part by part, but we'll go through it as he does, follow his lead. If there's anything he misses or I need to mention, I'll make sure I add it in, and then we'll go to the end, and we'll go from there. So, thank you much for watching. Remember, if you like this sort of stuff, if you like me reacting to things like this, I'll do more of it, because it's probably my first ever kind of like reaction to something, like a review or something, so including my own take. So it'd be quite cool to do that in the future for other things. Doesn't have to be game related, it could be anything related. But yeah, if you do, make sure you leave a comment, make sure you like the video, make sure subscribe to the YouTube. I know you guys are watching. Right, let's do it. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I am finally doing another review of something. The last thing I reviewed was Resident Evil 3 Remake, and you guys have been asking me, where's the next review? Where's the next review? It is right here. I just got back from seeing Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
Same, a few hours
apart.
apart.
I'm ready to give you my thoughts. I thought I would just make a video as soon as I got home, just so everything's fresh in my mind, and I can get everything out to you. Now, the first things I want to tell you guys are, it's a bad news. This is not a well-made movie. This is not a good movie. But it's a video game adaptation, so...
It's not a good movie, it's a bad movie, it's not a well-made movie. That's some strong comments straight off the bat. I can't agree with those. Sorry, can't agree with it. Yeah, it's not like what every fan was like yearning for, I'll be honest. It's not like... if we're talking, I'm assuming he's going to go into depth about his points there, so I'm not going to jump on those like comments. But all I'll say is that I can't just stress. If someone said to me, how's the film, and I'll say, yeah, it was good. It was good. It has its moments, good and bad. And there's things that for a fan is a bit like, but for a casual audience member, and they enjoy zombie films or horror films, or they know of Resident Evil and enjoy Resident Evil, this is good for them. straight up. I mean, if you're coming from, maybe, I'm assuming from Bork's point of view, he's talking to an audience who like loves Resident Evil, like die-hard fans, and they would, sacrifice a chicken, to get like the best movie possible. Yeah, you're not going to please them. It's just not going to happen. So I mean, but we'll carry on. But straight away, those comments, I think it's a bit heavy. Let's go straight in with that.
Yeah, video game movies are talking about a video game movie or the quality of a video game movie is like comparing shits in your toilet. They both stink like fucking shit. Some may look a little prettier than others, and some may be less stinky, but at the end of the day, it's just two logs of shit in a toilet, which is almost all live-action video game movies ever made. With that being said, this movie, if you're going in without knowing anything about Resident Evil, if you're going in as a horror movie fan to watch this without playing the games, you are most likely not going to like it. It is not a good...
Whoa. If you don't know nothing about the games and you're going to watch it, you're not going to like it. I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe 50% of the audience, maybe 80% of the audience would, and not 20% wouldn't. Out of 100%. Let's say you got a packed cinema, and people going in for a good time, just want to go see this new Resident Evil film because we've watched all the Milla Jovovich things. Most people probably say, "Where's Milla? Where's Alice? Is Alice in this?" These are people who don't know nothing about the games. Is Alice in this? Who've never played Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2. They don't know how it all works. I just feel like it's so negative already. Like I don't understand it. I could understand, obviously, you're very passionate about the games, but you've got to come in with like you've got to put your idiot hat on and be like, okay, and then walk in, sit down, and go, okay, let's watch this film, and just completely forget that you've ever played the games and just take it for what it is. It's like a tribute to fans. It's not. I don't think it's ever. I think they kind of went wrong with their like advertisement of it, like saying like, let's make a film for the fans. It's for the fans. It's for the fans. This is definitely not for the fans. It's an homage. It's definitely it's a tribute. Like Tenacious D style. The greatest song in the world was ever written. The greatest film, Resident Evil film in the world was ever written, but they forgot what the fucking script was, so they decided, quick, we've got to put something together because they said we're going to give them something, and this is what they gave us. It's not perfect, but it's still okay. It's not by means it's not the best film ever. I'm not saying it's an amazing film. I'm just saying we're just too hard on the negativity straight away. I think it's a bit deep, but I mean, it's his opinion. If he hated it, which it sounds like he absolutely did hate it. He hasn't said hate yet. He just said bad news. It's not very good. Bad movie. But it does come across pretty hate-filled. But that's his opinion. That's his opinion.
Film. If you're going in as a turbo fan of Resident Evil, you still maybe you'll like it. I'm not sure. I'm a turbo fan, and I do not think this was good. If you are expecting this to be like, but whoa, by the way, big spoiler alert, this is gonna be a ramble video, just a ramble review. So spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, don't watch this, or if you haven't seen it, you don't care, which you shouldn't, because if you've played the games, you know what's gonna happen essentially. So yeah, it doesn't really matter, but anyway, spoiler alert. But yeah, this movie, it is very different from the games. Very different. I have watched a few reviews, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's exactly like the games. It's like 1-to-1." In terms of story, no. It is not 1-to-1. It can't.
Agreed. It's not 1-to-1. It's not nothing like the story. Like you can't there's story elements to it. Definitely, there are story elements, but it is not 1-to-1. It's not Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, back to back, hand in hand. Plot for plot. It beat for beat. It is not like this. It's not at all. Like it really ain't. This is what I mean. You've got to go in with this kind of this bar of kind of like, this is not going to be just like the games. It's an homage. It's an homage. It is not going to be like games. So I agree with that. It's definitely true.
Be when Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 are happening at the exact same time, and Jill and Claire and Leon and Chris are all meeting up together. It's just it's not the same. Anyways, let's get into it. So if you don't know the Resident Evil story, the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City story, it basically starts off with Chris and Claire growing up in an orphanage. It throws Lisa in there just to build up Lisa's story, which I think adding Lisa is great. Lisa is probably the best addition to Resident Evil 1 Remake. So adding her to the movie and making her, well, you think she's a big part of the movie, is cool because she deserves more spotlight. And other than that, the movie is about Umbrella is leaving Raccoon City. People got poisoned from stuff in the water, or well, that's what Ben tells Claire. And Claire is basically coming to town to warn Chris or warn people about Umbrella.
Yeah, so kind of just to touch on a little bit more, basically that is kind of like the plot. The plot is basically Chris and Claire in the orphanage. Lisa turns up. She's like interested in Claire. Claire finds her in like a tent. They come out as they kind of make. They don't really build a bond or a friendship. It's kind of like she's the only person that's not kind of, I guess, not freaked out by her, or she's the first contact she makes. And yeah, Chris is there. He doesn't believe her. He's like, you've seen things. There's nothing there. And Birkin is actually running the orphanage. He's actually there in the beginning of the film. He actually runs the orphanage, and he's the one who's sort of, taking care of these kids. And the plot thickens on that part. But yeah, Lisa is in it, and yeah, she's not like if you've like I say, if you played the games, you'll know who Lisa Trevor is, and you know what she does. In this is not the same Lisa Trevor. This is basically like a reincarnate. It's like a brand new Lisa Trevor. It's the same character, just with a different kind of plot and theme going on for it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And the whole poisoning. That's another thing that got a bit confusing. It does say about the water's poisoned and they're getting sick, but it doesn't, like, on that plot point, it doesn't really touch on it much other than the start of the film. It kind of just sort of says, everyone's getting sick from the water. But Claire, well, it does touch on it again, but it's kind of weird. It kind of brushes over it just to kind of like get it out of the way. It's like, we've dug ourselves a little hole here. How do we get out of it? Because we've got half the people, most of the city's sick, and then half of the city's not, or a part of the city isn't. How do we dig ourselves out of that hole? And it does try, but it's a bit unsatisfactory in my eyes. That's my biggest nitpick there. It's one of those things. But yeah, that's pretty much the start of it anyway.
So, the quality of the movie. I think the CG is very hit or miss. One thing I found very, very weird. There is a lot, and I'm aware that a movie theater is a lot louder than watching at home, but there is a lot of loud sound effects in this film. Every time there is a jump scare, which there is a lot of jump scares. And guess what? Not a single one made me jump, or I didn't notice anyone in the theater go like, or it was just a lot of really annoying, loud, predictable jump scares that were just annoying. The zombies and the zombie makeup is just okay. If you compare it to something like Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead or even The Walking Dead, which at this point, Walking Dead, the budget's giant and everything, but the makeup is just not very good.
I think when we talk about makeup and sort of CGI and effects, like we're touching on CGI, I agree. I don't think the CGI was all that. I think the budget for me, the budget was kind of blown on the liquor scene. Like the CGI on the liquor was really, really nice, and the lighting was good. It looked decent and passable to be real enough. It kind of fit kind of the theme of where it was. That was fine. But yeah, there's other effects I'll talk about later when we get to it. But like, there were some effects I really liked. I'll be honest, I really did enjoy. But yeah, when it comes to the zombies and then makeup, like I can understand, like if you're telling a story that's supposed to be a story from the beginning, and it starts saying like people are getting sick and Umbrella's leaving Raccoon City, you would you've got to expect it to start at, this is like the beginning, this is like the start sort of thing. So they're just turning, or they're pre-turning, and they're kind of like, they've still got some semblance of humanity left in there, but they're definitely turning. It's a slow and steady process. So they're obviously getting deformed, and hair's falling out, and their eyes are bleeding, and you see some of that, and you see it comes across in the film. But if we're coming from that angle of like, if we're comparing it like to Walking Dead or anything like that, like Bawk said, if we're comparing it to those sort of franchises, no chance. The budget's too big, it's just, it's a Romero, and then you've got Walking Dead, which is like gone on for God knows how many seasons now, and it's hit, and that's hit or miss as well. But the zombies always look good, like they always look really good. In this, you've got to forgive it. You have to give it a pass because, budget's probably not all that big, and I don't know the figures, but the budget's probably not all that big, and also the fact that they are pre-turning, so they're not exactly going to go, flesh falls off and jaws hanging off, and that's it. The instant zombie. You know, it's a process. They're all at the gates of the RPD, sort of going, "Let me in, help me," and they're all like, they're turning. So it's the sense that it's to create that kind of tension. I think they're trying to build like a tension and stuff like that. And again, with the jump scares, there's a lot of like attempts at jump scares. You know, so there's a lot of like gunfire and blackout screen moments and flashes from the guns and zombies coming out. I think, you know, I found that quite more action heavy than jump scary heavy. It was very like, and a lot. I tell you another thing I'll touch on it now because it's in my head. The music. When we're talking about jump scares, the music was like, and straight away I'm thinking, is this Resident Evil 1 music from like the original films? Like, that's literally like I could hear the beat. I was like, holy shit. You know, like the beat's there. I swear it's the same beat. I'd love to know like if that was the same beat, because you just hear it like and it stops, but then it goes on to it's like some whole chorus thing going throughout the film. Like it's kind of the whole film is basically just the chorus line and that's basically the music. That's literally it all the way through with the heavy sound effects and stuff. So yeah, agreed on that. Definitely agree with him there. You know, on the CGI front, makeup effect front, forgiven because budget and also pre-turning, can't be instant undead like within 10 seconds. Again, this is happening in an encapsulated moment in time. In the games, it's over 2 months. You know, it's just over a period of time. It's just, you know, they didn't insta start decomposing. They were like, you know, you've got to, I know it's hard to say, but you've got to add some sort of element of realism. And if we talk about Dawn of the Dead, we'll touch on Dawn of the Dead quickly. If we're touching about Dawn of the Dead zombies, those guys were like hyper as fuck. They were like bleeding out of every orifice, and they were going fucking crazy, breaking down doors and tearing things apart. And they could like sprinters, you know. Resident Evil didn't have any sprinters in it until probably maybe Remake when you got the Crimson Heads. You know, like you had turbos, which are kind of fast walkers, but full on sprinters. You know, you don't really see those until Remake. You know, so you've got to forgive it. It's picking and choosing its moments and elements. So you've got to forgive it in those sort of things. But yeah, I agree in other points.
Yeah, but I digress. The set pieces. Right off the bat, the truck driver. One of the first scenes in the movie. The truck driver. Classic in RE2 Remake. He grabs the burger, it zooms in out, he takes a giant greasy bite of the burger. That was awesome. There's a lot of moments like that in this film that are really cool and really enjoyable, and I started to snicker to myself. I'm like, that's cool. That's cool that's in there.
I love sorry, I'm nodding. I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. Because there's a lot of those moments like that for me, but I agree it was like the highlight of the film for him was the guy taking a bite of the burger. Damn, that's it. That's it, you know, this is it. Tell everybody about it. Oh my god, yeah, that's actually quite funny. Sorry, I thought it was quite funny, but yeah, there are moments like that. You know, as a fan, you think, oh, you know, because Remake is where it's at. I mean, if this film's made for the 2020, 2021 audience, you know, or 2019, sorry, like 2019 up to 2021 audience, you know, for RE2 Remake, RE3 Remake, and RE1 Remake, if you've ever gone back and played it, because a lot of people are thinking, oh, what's the first one like? Oh, play this one, it's the remake, don't play the old one, play the remake, it's much better graphics. Oh, okay. You play for graphics, you don't play for, you know, your story's secondary, you know, just sort of like a casual, you know, and then you realise, oh my god, I'm actually getting into this, I need to know more about it, and that's how you build a fan up, you know. But, yeah, the burger scene, definitely, that's, I wonder how much they spent on that burger, the budget.
Even though I think this is a bad movie, I try and find the good things in it. I don't think it is complete trash, but...
See, now, the more he talks about it, I noticed this, and the more he's talked about it, he's kind of started, his opinion started... I know he's not gone back to, like, saying it's a great movie, but he started to... And I agree, you know, the more... If you go in disappointed and come out feeling even more disappointed, then you come out and then you start talking about it and reminiscing on things. Oh, it's a bad movie, it's not complete trash, you know. He liked it. I don't know. Did you like it? I don't know if you watched it, Bork, but if you do ever watch this, like, you liked it. You liked it. A part of you liked it. It just, you know, you just got to, you can't, you know, you just didn't, you got to stick to your guns, and I completely agree. You know, you can't go back on kind of like your first opinion is it's going to be bad, and then straight away it's bad. You come out and say it's bad. but you're allowed to be forgiven. You're allowed to forgive it on certain things. So he's forgiven it now a little bit, but I think he's forgiven it.
It wasn't the best. Anyways, it shows the diner, or, well, I mean, it doesn't serve the same purpose. It shows the police station, which is basically 1-to-1, or at least the outside and the lobby are like 1-to-1 with the remake,
Agreed.
with RE2 remake.
Agreed.
And it's really cool to see. Like, it's awesome to see that on a big motion picture. Now, I will say it didn't blow me away or anything, and I appreciate this for having a lot of cool set pieces, even though it's hard to tell sometimes if it's a set piece or if it's CG.
CG in the lobby.
The set pieces,
CG was the
but
lobby
really
was CG.
Blow me away because graphics are so good now that in RE2 remake, like, the graphics almost look real at this point. So seeing it in the movie it was cool, but like things like that don't make a movie for me because it's not as mind-blowing as it would have been like
Yeah, agreed. The diner didn't. The diner doesn't do what it does in pardon me. The diner doesn't do what it does in original RE2. Like, there's no checking a body and Leon comes to save Claire, nothing like that. It's basically Leon's pissed. Like, he's got a hangover. He's on the bar. We've got Jill there. That's where we're introduced to Jill. We're introduced to Wesker, and we're introduced to Richard, and they're all just kind of chilling, having a drink and having some food. Leon comes in, and he's already on the bar, and he's hanging on the bar. He comes in and sits down and sort of dozes off, and they're making bets with each other to see who can shoot a bottle of ketchup off his head. And I'll be honest, like, Leon in this, like, I'm going to touch on Leon's character now, just so in preparation for later. He's comic relief. He's massive comic relief. Leon is comic relief. And I'll be honest, the guy does it really good. Like, the guy does it really well. You need a comic relief, and that is Leon. Leon is comic relief, unfortunately. I'm gonna say this, and I say it with love. He's been made out to look like a joke. He looks like a joke. His character does not grow. He's basically comic relief all the way through this entire film. Claire is the badass, Leon's comic relief, and everyone else is badass, all except for Leon. He's like the joke of the film. He's like comedy line guy. That's him. That's his role. And that's the role they wanted for him. That's the role they gave him. So, but that's who he is. There we go. That's it. That's what Leon's role was. But everyone else is pretty cool. I mean, again, we're going to touch on Jill Valentine. We're going to touch on Wesker, I'm sure, later on. But my initial thoughts when I saw the characters were that I liked them. I did. I liked them. I liked the way they looked. I liked the way they interacted. I liked the way they spoke. I liked the way they built them up. Sorry, I did. I'm sorry, I did. I just liked it. I liked it. That they were given them. How much do you have to work with, really? How much do you have to work with? You've got 3D models on a screen that are basically running around taking out zombies, and the only development of a character you get is during cutscenes or maybe during some kind of, stuff that's been written by maybe an art director or a studio director in a game studio. This is your characters are built on, someone else's imagination. You've got to give them life. You've got to breathe life into them. So I cannot sit here and say they did a bad job with the characters, because that's just who the character. You're given all the information you possibly can be. And I'm sure they did their due diligence, and I'm sure they did their research, and I'm sure they watched the games or played them or anything else. But you cannot sit there and judge somebody based purely on something that's born from someone else's imagination. And you've got to bring life to imagination. You've got to bring, it's like drawing a character on a bit of paper and saying, right, bring it to life. Give it. I'll give you a basic backstory and everything else, but you've got to fill in the gaps. Love, friendship, camaraderie, habits, mannerisms. None of that's in the games. Most of the games are kind of like just noises, sounds, and a few cute catchphrases, because that's just what the games were built on. That's what we love them for. So but I'm kind of going off track here, but I just wanted to talk about them as a whole, as a group, when they're together in the bar. Leon being comic relief, and it kind of just ends with them kind of all leaving and going to the station, pretty much. And Jill interacts with Leon and stuff. That's pretty cool. I like the interaction. It was nice to see interaction between characters that never met in the games. They never met. And when someone said, "Oh, did they ever meet?" If anyone ever asks you, "Oh, did they ever meet in like outside the games?" You say, "Yeah, they probably did." But you never see any of that stuff. You never see any of these characters meet. This is the only time you're ever going to see it, is in a film franchise. Unless they make a TV series on Netflix. Wink.
10, 20 years ago. But yeah, the police station is cool. I think they handled that really well. The mansion's really cool too. The lobby, they nailed the lobby as always. But other than the lobby, I didn't really notice. There was a lot of rooms that were just completely changed.
Agreed.
Which, as I said earlier, it's so weird to like base this off of Resident Evil 1 and 2, and the advertising and a lot of the reviews and a lot of social media posts, they act like this is like a 1-to-1 RE1 and 2 combined. Everything is the exact same, but it's so different.
Agreed.
The rest of the RPD is slightly different, and there's not much more of it. And the rest of the mansion is slightly different.
Agreed.
Well, slightly and
massively different.
almost non-existent.
Yeah, massively different. There's no comparisons.
The laboratory as well.
Oh god, the labs.
I
Yeah.
may have been sleeping, but correct me if I'm wrong. The laboratory was like the size of an office. They walk in, or Wesker walks in on Birkin, and it's just this little office.
Yeah, basically. So touching on the lobbies, and that, I didn't really go into it too hard, but the lobbies, I totally agree. So the lobby of the RPD looks amazing, but it's CG. It's pretty clear it's CG. You don't see anything past the statue, the lady, the maiden statue. You know, where you put the unicorn medal in, or the 3 medals in the remake. You know, past that you see nothing. You see the slopes going up left and right. You see the doors, and you see Leon sitting at a desk because he gets scolded by Irons here because they have a scene in the. Right, that's another thing I'm going to mention it now. I don't know if we'll clock this, but I'm going to mention it. Stars is never said, and there's a few other things aren't said. I'm going to go through it now so I remember. So Stars was never mentioned. They never mentioned Stars. I'll have to correct me, but I don't ever remember them saying Stars. They always introduce themselves as RPD police. Annette's name's never said, because there's a scene with Annette, Sherry, and Birkin. Sherry's name's never said, so it's unnamed child, unnamed wife. They basically, their names are never mentioned. Who else is it? What else is it mentioned? I think there was some other things that weren't mentioned either. There was stuff that just wasn't ever brought up. Like, you know, there was just no mention of these characters' names. They were just nothing characters. But yeah, like Bork said, I agree. Labs were just shocking. Like this guy's the genius. Like he's the genius. The Umbrella's top researcher, genius, and he's basically created these 2 viruses in a lab that's the size of a small kitchen in a flat or an apartment. You know, take that what you will. You know, imagine the smallest kitchen you've ever been in. You know, like a studio apartment kitchen or a student accommodation kitchen. You know, a really small kitchen or whatever it is. I don't know. You know, that's how big his lab was. There's literally you could only, you know, he'd have to stand there and turn and just turn to move. He couldn't walk to one end to the other. It's just really small.
And yeah, and in that scene, just going back to what I said about people saying it's a 1-to-1, Wesker goes in, shoots Birkin, then Jill shoots Wesker, then Sherry tries to shoot Wesker, but then Jill shoots Wesker. It's just everything that happens in that scene is just completely irrelevant to the games.
Yeah, so story-wise, they changed it. So basically, it turns out that, I mean, you find out later on, again, this is spoiler-heavy, you know it. Ada contacts Wesker and employs him to get hold of the G and T virus samples, or just the G virus, whatever. Wesker agrees, and he wants the money to escape Raccoon City because he needs to get out. He hasn't got enough cash to leave, because it says that people are too poor to leave Raccoon City. They can't leave. So Wesker's given a lifeline, and he's willing to go out of his way just to get these virus samples off of Birkin so that he can be, you know, given this money so he can escape Raccoon City. He finds his way to the labs through the Spencer mansion. Birkin's already there because he's been contacted by somebody who's told him that his virus samples are going to be stolen. So I don't know who contacted him. So that sets him up to be there. Unnamed wife and unnamed daughter are there because their names aren't mentioned, by the way. I'm pretty sure they're not said because I've never heard them say their names once. They're there just watching him, like, and there's his body on the table, like, dissected and open, and Sherry's just standing there, like, chilling, like, what the hell? Sherry, like, yeah, I mean, if there's a character in this film that has, like, zero, like, need or zero kind of context, it's Sherry. Sherry is basically just a mannequin of a character, you know, just there for dressing, just there for sort of just, like, character dressing. And, you know, like Bork said, yeah, Wesker walks in, threatens Birkin, he says no chance, turns around to shoot him, bang bang, Birkin goes down. Annette goes over, gives him the vials, he injects himself, and then Wesker shoots Annette because she, you know, is going to shoot him. Then Sherry grabs the gun, goes to shoot Wesker, but then Jill shoots him in the back. Hits, I think, must hit a mortal wound on him because he dies from it. And she's like, "I'm so sorry," and he's alive, his death cries, he's apologising. So yeah, totally unrelated to the games. If you never played the games, this scene to you would be like how it goes down. When in reality, that's obviously not how it goes down. So yeah, completely agree. It's not a 1-to-1 there.
I don't think the casting is a major problem in this movie.
Agreed.
A
Not
lot of speculation for the film when the first few screenshots were shown, the first few trailers were shown. People were super worried about the casting because Leon and Jill weren't the right ethnicity, and so-and-so didn't look like so-and-so, whatever else.
That's not a problem.
I actually don't think the casting is a super big problem in this movie.
No.
I think it was decently acted.
I'm going to say that they were fucking really good with what they had to do. Like, so good. Like, I thought every character was really well done. With what you've got to work with and what you've got to play with in this franchise, what they pulled off as actors, I fucking applaud them for. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And I never sat there and thought, oh, what a boring character. The main cast, obviously. I just said, oh, what a crappy character. Oh, my God, I really liked them all. I loved like the love triangle where like Chris was like Jill, but Jill like Wesker. That's pretty cool. Like, because these are real people. They live together. They've worked together for years, and you've got an attractive cop working with two attractive men, or a couple of attractive men in this kind of like in a macho kind of in a macho kind of role. And she's very tomboy macho-ish, which is correct. She's hardcore. She's Jill Valentine, for fuck's sake. She doesn't come off as like a little like, ooh, she comes off as like fucking like she'll get the job done. You could trust her in a situation. And that's what is attracting. Chris is attracted to that. He's attracted to that kind of strength, but she's attracted to Wesker's strength. I love that kind of like it hints on it there. It's mentioned by Claire and it's talked about by a diner woman. She talks about it to Leon because Leon sees her and he kind of gives her the look and she says like, don't worry about it, you're never gonna go there because she likes the big guy, which is Wesker. And thank you very much. I liked it. I thought it was good.
But the problem is, and this is like Anakin in Star Wars Episode 2, where people rag on him for like, oh, I don't like sand, it's coarse and rough and it gets everywhere. You can't blame the actors when the writing is awful. Find me an actor that could say that Anakin line and do it well. Sometimes writing is to blame. It doesn't matter what kind of actor you get behind a script. If the script is written terribly, it's gonna sound like shit no matter what. Anyways, I thought Claire and Jill were just very similar characters. They were both just the badass chick. And Claire's sweet side of like caring for Sherry or would-be Lisa as well in this movie is sort of just dumped. Claire doesn't really show.
Yeah.
She shows little sympathy for Lisa, and they have their moments, but overall, Claire and Sherry, that's out the window.
Yeah.
Like I
agreed.
Wrong.
Yeah,
I don't even
100%.
think they speak once. I don't even think they share a single sentence together.
They don't at all. Basically, Sherry is Lisa Trevor in this. Like, Sherry is Lisa Trevor. Lisa Trevor to Claire is what Sherry was to Claire in the games. That's who she is. Sherry is more attached to Chris, and the reason for that is because it explains in the beginning that when Claire left Raccoon City and ran away, and Chris was all alone, Birkin raised him, put him through school, put him through the academy to get into the RPD, put him through his training, basically raised him as a member of his family, basically took him in under his wing. And he obviously grew up around Sherry, and he grew up quite close to her because she was a young girl, and he's obviously a teenager at this point, and she was born, and she's growing up, and he's basically treated like a little sister. So Chris and Sherry are actually kind of like the family unit here, and that's why she's so happy to see Chris. Like, she gives him a big hug, and they're hugging, and it's like Claire is like the outcast. She's like the renegade has left and come back to kind of say, Umbrella's bad, Chris, you've got to come with me. And Chris is like, no, Umbrella raised me. They did the right thing. It's pretty cool. I mean, even though they threw that out, I don't know. It fit for the film. The dynamic fits quite nicely for what it does. It kind of, it's kind of like convinced. I mean, obviously, it's you're not going to fit all these kind of themes in it, but the dynamic of kind of developing a character over a period of time, it's just not enough in this film. It's not enough, but honestly, I think like changing the story up in that way, like I didn't hate it. I thought interesting takes, very interesting. Yeah.
One, and Jill's just a badass chick. I think Jill is fine. They made her super badass, but
Agreed.
yeah,
Yep.
they're very similar. Chris and Wesker are also very similar, to the point that if you switched around the actors for both roles, for Chris and Wesker, Claire and Jill, it would still feel the same. Like they all just feel very samey. I don't know. Every character in this movie just felt very flat and very generic, in my opinion. Also, Richard replaced Barry. And
Yeah.
there's also Brad in this movie, but he doesn't really do much. But yeah, Richard replaced Barry, which is so weird. As you guys know, Barry's our favorite character in the franchise.
Yeah, for someone like Bork who said, like you say, his favourite character is Barry, you know, my favourite character isn't Barry, my favourite character is actually Jill, to be fair. But, like, yeah, like, Barry not being in this is super weird. I suppose if you put Barry in it in Richard's place, he would be dead, because Richard dies in this, and so does Brad. But, like, yeah, I mean, is there a reason to keep him out of it? Because he could be used. I mean, if this does well, which I don't know if it will, but if this does well and the second one happens, you know, is Barry going to come into it? You know, is Barry going to appear? And they're going. I mean, they've played with the story this far, so you know, there was no mention of another. I mean, they didn't even say there were Stars members. They didn't even say there were Stars members. They just literally they worked for RPD. That was it. There was no mention. There was no mention of them being Stars at all, like none. So. Do stars even exist in this universe? You know, I don't know, but there you go. Yeah, no Barry, but is what it is.
But I think Barry would have fit way better. Instead of this silent Richard, you could have had Barry as a father-like figure with the big weaponry. That would have been awesome. But for some reaon, they didn't.
Richard and Brad are so similar.
Leon is the one that stands out of all the characters. Leon and Ben, actually, in my opinion.
Ben.
Leon, they just made into like a bumbling idiot. He is just a buffoon in the movie. He's
Comedy
super
relief.
Silly. It's almost like a male version of that girl from Zombieland 2. It's not that bad, but that's the vibes I got. And I don't think it was like badly acted, but his script is just like, it's just stupid. Like literally. And a lot of the time he'll just be like, oh fuck, or oh you fucker, or fuck this.
Yeah.
He just swears a lot. And for example, the last or one thing, speaking of like 1-to-1, when he shoots, spoiler alert, as this has been, when he shoots the rocket launcher at Birkin, what does he say? He's like, take this, you fucker, or something.
Take this, you ugly fucker.
Why not just
take this, you ugly fucker.
Game over, just like the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the original art.
I agree. Well,
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
always feel so weird watching
Yeah.
these movies that are like, oh, it's all about the fan service. But when there's easy fan service, it's just passed up for something
agreed.
Generic, I guess.
Yeah, super agree on that.
But, yeah,
really agree.
I think Leon is okay, but his script was a little rough, and he would.
Yeah, like I said, I've talked about Leon already being comedy relief, and Bork just confirmed that he's a bumbling idiot. He's comedy relief. That's what he is. But what that guy did with them lines, like he did make me laugh a lot. I was laughing. Like I find it really, really funny. But yeah, he's comedy relief, 100% comedy relief. And yeah, again with the rocket launcher at the end when he shoots Birkin, could have just game over, man. Boom, there we go. Even I could do it. Game over, man. You know, I'm not a fucking actor. I've done it better. You know, and instead he goes, take this, you ugly fucker. And it's like, oh, God, so many lines. Just say game over, man. And everyone will be like, oh. Yeah, so it's like, oh, yeah, I agree. Easy fan service. Oh, I'm sitting here like rubbing my head like this because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, because it's like, you know, it's little things like that people are going to pick on you for. You know, people are going to pick on those things, you know. Forget everything else. It's just little stuff like that. As far as script goes, I'm no script writer. I'm no, like, I don't know. I mean, if I wrote a script, it'd be so, like, game focused. Like, it probably, I don't know, would it have any, would it have any character development in it? Would it have any kind of, you know, moving on? But again, does this, I mean, especially Leon's character, he doesn't change at all. He's kind of always the same way through the film. He doesn't grow. He's the rookie. He's always the rookie. But yeah, again, I don't know. Again, easy fan service, like Bork said. Totally agree.
Was also he's just a bumbling idiot, which you can say he is like that in the games. He sort of is in the original and the remake, but not to the point that it's like comical.
No, not to that
he's
point.
just sort of incompetent, and
He's learning.
He's more than that in the movie. William Birkin, Sherry, and Annette. Annette is like just some girl.
Yeah.
Sherry basically says nothing.
Sherry.
She has a dream about hunters, which is cool. I think it was hunters. She said she
Yeah,
sharp teeth and
big green
skin,
slimy
which
things
is
and
cool.
stuff.
So I
Yeah.
was expecting to see a hunter, but there was none. And then William Birkin, just sort of another dude.
I don't know. I can't agree with the Birkin comment. I mean, I'll listen to let's listen to what he says about Birkin, and I'll say.
His transformation was all right.
Okay. He's sort of gone over like the character quite quickly. Right, Birkin. When I watched my initial kind of reaction to this, and I was watching it with Holy Soul, and we both sort of sat down, we talked about it, and we saw Birkin. I said he's going to be a star in the film, like he's going to really stand out. And I was surprised that like a lot of characters did stand out, but Birkin, like, I really liked Birkin. I liked it when he had his long hair, or his longish hair in the orphanage. The way he spoke, the actor was a perfect choice. He just looks so good for it. I can't remember his name, but he's been in a few films and he's done a few roles. But he's a seasoned actor, and he took a character that, you know, really does have only a few cutscenes here and there in the franchise and a bit of maybe text about him and stuff. But he done such a good job of it, and he came across so. You knew he was bad the way he looked, you know. He just you know, and his coat on and looked good wearing it. He walked with authority. And Birkin just like. Yeah, he was just really, I don't know, I really liked him, you know. And then when obviously it showed age by giving like the actor's natural hair, I think it was his natural hair because he has quite a receded hairline like me, you know, where it's sort of like nothing left on top but puff and fluff. But yeah, he just, I don't know, yeah, I liked him. Like, yeah, he might have been just another dude, but I think he did command presence. Like, I was really interested, you know, I was excited to see how the transformation went. And we're going to talk about the transformation now, but I'll let Bork get his point with transformation, then I'll talk about mine. But yeah, I liked William. I thought he was a really good actor. Really good. Really well done.
And when he transformed, though, when he was G1, he was screaming about Chris, and the theater that I was in, people were chuckling. And it was funny. It was just like, man, sometimes silence is golden, and I feel like silence would have been golden with Birkin, but he was just screaming about Chris and walking around. It was just a little silly. I do think the CG was okay on G1, but yeah, it was just a little disappointing.
So, concerning the transformation, so William transforms on the floor. He's lying on the floor, and he's like, his face starts kind of like puffing out and stuff and that. And when he transforms, he's screaming. And his arm, you see his hand get elongate. Doesn't go into a claw, but it turns like longer, and it's like splitting, and his like muscle structure grows, and then the eyeballs are there, the multiple eyeball, and it was a slightly big eyeball. You know, you see it moving, and he has like the spike coming out of his shoulder, and he's walking around, and yeah, he's walking around kind of going, oh, he goes, Chris, you really fine? I'll take you into my family, you know, stuff like that. So rewind time, you know. One of my least favourite Mila Jovovich ones was the third one. I didn't like Extinction a lot at all. When they brought Tyrant out, and in my mind, Tyrant should have been what Tyrant is in the games. You know, this is going back years, obviously, but Tyrant should have been what Tyrant was. And when I saw Tyrant like screaming and making like force blasts and tentacles coming out of his hands, and you know, he stood there with like jeans on, and he's like, but he's still talking. He's still speaking. He's like, "Because you thought you were the future, I am the future." You know, he's still talking, and like, it's hard to kind of like, it's hard because it's the same case with Birkin. He's kind of like he's transforming, but they're playing with the notion that he's still got humanity left in him. He's still not, you know, he's alive. He's been, the virus brings you back, but he's coming back with some of his humanity still left. But because he's turned, he's bringing out all of this like it's just bringing out his like evil side even more. He's just coming to the forefront, and he's walking around like screaming after. And Chris is kind of like the titular, kind of like he's like Birkin's sort of like illegitimate son in a way because of the way they built him up in the film. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was quite cool. and he realizes his own strength with his hand, and he rips the gate off, and then they're shooting him, and it does absolutely nothing. And then Claire turns up with the shotgun and blasts him down, and he's on the floor, kind of like incapacitated because of the shots. And he's just like, "Oh, do it, kill me!" And then it's just they shoot him in the head, and you see his fucking head blown open, brains everywhere, and you're kind of like, "Oh, he's definitely dead." Wink. But yeah, I mean, I liked the CG on him. I liked the eyeballs. I liked the arm. I liked it. I just, it's, yeah, you could say silence is golden, but at the same time, it's kind of like in this film, you know, if that's the case, if silence is golden, then you could probably delete half the script and have Leon say nothing, you know. Would that made him a better character? Would that made any even better characters, you know, without that kind of script? I don't know. But for Birkin, you know, he's turning. You've got to forgive it in some places, you know. The next thing, if you're expecting to pick up a pole and start whacking stuff, then you know that's not going to happen. Definitely not. But if it did, could have been cool, having a pole and start swinging it and smashing the side. You know, that actually would have been. Actually go back to that. If he grabbed a pole because they're in a place with plenty of like metal objects around, if he grabbed some sort of steel pipe off the ground or steel pipe off a railing and started swinging it and smashing it into walls and just cracking the concrete, I'd have been like, fuck yeah, let's go. You know, that'd be fun. Him just going and just going mental and going, Chris. You know, could still say Chris. You know, he says Sherry in the game's like, oh, Sherry. You know, he still could say Chris. You know, so they're giving him that. They're giving him humanity, but they're just turning it up to 11, and you know, minus the pole. Should have gave him the pole.
But yeah, overall, I thought this movie was okay. I don't know if I think in my opinion, the best Resident Evil movie is probably just the first one of Paul W.S. Anderson, but this gives that one a run for its money. But as earlier, we compared the shits in the toilet. Yeah. So, I don't know. I would need to watch the original Resident Evil movie again. And I want to watch this again too. Like I said, this is a very impulsive review. I just wanted to come and get everything.
What I like is at the start, it was straight away, it was bad, it's bad, it's not good, it's trash, it's a turd, da-da-da-da. As we've gone on, I talked about it. It's okay, you know, I'll probably have to watch it again. This is very impulsive, I'm very impulsive. Look, you know, I watched it last night, you know, it's the next day now. You know, I came out I was feeling okay about it. There were definitely things in it that, like, I would have changed. You know, if I was directing it, I would have done things differently. Definitely, I'm sure a lot of people would have. But we're not directors, we're not screenwriters, we've not been given a budget to do this. If you know, like you know, it's not like a call out, but if you know, if there's anybody, I mean, if you know, you got fan films that get made all the time. You know, if you're willing to fund, I mean, look at Mr. Beast done bloody Squid Games. You know, imagine that dude loving Resident Evil. Imagine that dude being a massive Resident Evil fan. You know, imagine somebody who is a Resident Evil fan with that kind of budget, that kind of backing, or that kind of like monetary, you know, value. Imagine him saying, right, I'm gonna make a fan-made Resident Evil film, called in all people who want to be in it, extras, actors, or whatever. We're gonna get fans to, you know, some really hardcore fans who know the game's back to front, and we're gonna make a script about it, and we're gonna make a fan film of Resident Evil. You know, that is pretty much like, you know, where it's going. You know, it's like the Dragon Ball Z film. You know, again, there was a fan fiction of that, which was, you know, better. Mortal Kombat. I mean, Mortal Kombat, the Mortal Kombat YouTube series, incredible, absolutely incredible. You know, and then you've got like, you know, the film like Mortal Kombat. You know, I liked the film. I thought it was good, but again, it just didn't. It's trying to cram in all this history and lore into like, you know, a small space. Whereas, you know, a fan made project could expand on it more and develop characters more and give them more depth. But yeah, I like how his opinions kind of, like how Bork's opinions change throughout. I think, you know, I totally agree. Like, I wouldn't start off with saying I hated it or anything like that. I didn't even say hate, but I wouldn't start off saying it was bad and coming in heavy. I would talk about it and then kind of revalidate my opinion. But, you know, I respect that he's thought about it as he's been talking here, and he's said it's okay. You know, he's not slating it. He knows there are redeemable qualities, but I think, you know, for everyone who's a fan, you know, there's always going to be good and bad of anything when it comes to video game movies, you know, and You know, what do you expect? You're never gonna get a 1-to-1 ever. It's never gonna happen unless, again, like I say, it's fan made. But yeah,
everything off my chest. But if you don't play the games, you most likely will not like the movie. If you love the games, you will at least like some things about the movie. It will be a semi-enjoyable experience for you, or it will be a very angry experience. One of the two. So, but anyways, I do recommend going to see it. There is a post-credit scene, or it's like mid-credits. That's pretty funny. I actually really liked the mid-credit scene. I won't spoil it just in case you go see it, but it's pretty good. And I hope it's not setting up for a sequel, because in my opinion, this was not. I think they should just abandon it. They should try again later on down the road. I know there's the show coming out, but I really hope they just abandon this movie. They try again. They frigged up, in my opinion. Just let this be its own thing and get a new cast and a new director and a new script for another Resident Evil movie way down the road, or whenever they want to do it. But I really hope this does not continue the trend that Paul W.S. Anderson did a long time ago with the other Resident Evil movies.
Yeah, so talking about the end, I'm not going to, obviously I won't spoil the post-credit scene, but yeah, that's definitely setting up for a second one, 100%. 100% that's setting up for a second movie. Yeah, the ending was pretty dire. After Leon shoots the rocket launcher, they just walk out of the tunnel and the whole of Raccoon City just sort of collapses into itself. I think all of Raccoon City collapses into itself. There's no missiles, no nothing, it just goes... That's it. Raccoon City is destroyed. Umbrella, action report, survivors, 0. Chris, Claire, unnamed little girl, Leon, all come walking out. And Jill, they all come walking out of the tunnel. And then it just goes, boom, straight to credits. That's it. That's literally how it ends. I'm like, cool. It's good to know. You know, and that's pretty much how it ends. Pretty bit of a dire ending. Like, honestly, the ending was pretty poor. You build up all this whole thing. You've just destroyed probably one of the biggest characters in the franchise, the city. You just totally destroyed it in your first film. It's like, where'd you go? But yeah, I'm not going to go into the whole Paul W.S. Anderson films. Like, you know, I like the first one, the second one, and except the third, all the rest were fine. You know, they did what they did. You know, that's its own universe. It's a universe. Alice had her. Alice wasn't. It's Alice. It's Alice's universe. You know, and people like those films. They made money. That's why they kept being more. That's why they kept making more of those films, because they made money. You know, they made a lot of money, and that's why they kept making them, and they kept doing it. And you know, and whatever they were doing worked. Clearly, you know. Unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast. You know, this film, if it does well, they will make more of them. It's just the nature of the beast. And I'm sorry, but you can't. I mean, I know it's easy to say just cut it and run and just, you know, get new actors, new director, new da-da-da-da. But it's like, how many times can you keep doing this? It's how many times, you know, if we're going back to Bork's analogy of turds in the toilet, you know, get them out, beat them with a stick, you know, until they look like what? Just all over the place. You've got there's shit everywhere. There's shit all over the walls, and every speck of it is it's just you trying again, you know. It's not, you can't keep doing it over and over again. As far as the TV series is concerned, I'm actually looking forward to that. I want to see what they do with that. I mean, I've already talked about the CGI franchise they did recently. It's just there. Watched it once. It's super forgetful. Like, nothing happened. You watch the last episode, and that's literally all you need to watch. The rest of it's kind of just filler. Don't even talk about anything in it. But yeah, again, we're sticking with the Welcome to Raccoon City. Yeah, ending was disappointing. I didn't like the ending. But yeah.
But yeah, go see it. It's a video game movie. You usually go and see video game movies just for the entertainment value and just if you're a fan of the franchise, just to see little Easter eggs, which this movie has plenty. There's plenty of Easter eggs to see. True. There are plenty of fan service moments. So there's plenty of things that have a little chuckle at and enjoy. But overall, the movie is not great, and it's whatever. I hope you guys enjoy it more than I did. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. If you like this video, please like it. And if you really like the channel, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. And yeah, if there's a lot of likes in this video, I will try and review more stuff that I play. Because sometimes I'll play through a game and I won't even review it. I won't even put up a Let's Play just because the Let's Play is a little rough. And
well, we're here for the movie. Thanks so much for your review, Bork. Appreciate it. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, like, you know, overall, my final thoughts, it was good. I agree, it was good. You know, I don't think it was bad. You know, it just, you know, if you're expecting it to be a 1-to-1, if you bought into the hype of it being bang on the same, then obviously you're going to be disappointed. And a lot of people did. That's why, you know, there was all this harassment and anger towards an actress who did absolutely nothing wrong. Like, in my opinion, she done a banging job. I think she did an incredible job. And, you know, don't understand why you silly fuckers going out there talking trash, because you're just idiots. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is. You're given a script, you're given a role, you apply for the role. Your agent gives you the role. You go in, you read lines. They like your look, they like the way you read, and you just gel together, and you build a team, and then you make a film, and then you do the best you can with the you know, the story you're given, the script you're given, and the elements you're given, and you make the best out of it. You know, it's, you know, that's it, and that's it. If someone was to sit down with the director of this film and say, why did you do it this way? Why didn't you do it that way? What was the reason for this? What was the reason for that? I'm sure he'd have absolutely valid responses, or he'd be honest and say, I didn't think of it that way. Maybe I could have done it differently. You know, there have been plenty of directors in the past that have apologised for what they've done after the fact. I don't think apologies needed for this at all. But I just think, you know, questions need to be asked. You know, just questions need to be asked, saying like, why not this way? Why not do this way? Why be like that? What is it you're trying to achieve here? You know, see inside the director's mind. You know, see his vision, because, you know, this is his vision. He's directed it. You know, so. But other than that, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. I say go see it, enjoy it. Just don't go in thinking, oh my god, yeah, just like the games. Just go in, okay, it's Resident Evil. Let's go. Just like the older movies. You know, I enjoyed them. I don't care. I liked them. I thought they were decent. You know, I grew up on them. They you know, I grew up watching them as a kid and grew up, you know, and I still watch them to this day. If I ever feel like watching a Resident movie, I'll just slap on. I'll go on YouTube and watch a fight scene between Whisker and Chris and Claire. It's pretty sick, you know, or whatever. Nostalgia's the best kind of drug. But yeah, thanks so much again for watching. Apologies for the video length. But again, if you like the video and you want me to do more of this kind of stuff, please let me know in the comments. I'll leave a link to the description of Bork's channel and Bork's video for this. Also, I'll leave a link for my my Twitch, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I know you guys are watching. Take care, and I'll see you online.